hello. My name is Kevin Frank. It is Tuesday, October 13th, and we are back once again with Dr. Jeff Andresen to provide a little weather summary and see what we can expect as October hits the midway point now. So, Jeff, we look forward to hearing from you this week.
Well, better wait to see what you think of the forecast here first. But I'll just to reflect here an image that's so common and typical across much of the state right now. It's part of one of my favorite times of the year. But just the colors are glorious depending on where you are, and you don't have to go very far to see the color. And it's just it seems just to go so fast this time of the year when we do have all around us. So the weather's not going to do us any favors in regard to the color with probably a lot of fairly strong winds and some unsettled weather. But we are looking at moving into and again, unsettled I think is the best description here. And I'll get to that here in just a second. First of all, looking at the last couple weeks, we've had a lot of troughing, upper air troughing across the middle of the country and the Great Lakes region, and that has led to cooler weather. There are a couple of exceptions to this over the region, but most of the state here has been a couple degrees below normal since the beginning of the month, which is somewhat expected. We did expect to see some cooler weather, but it has persisted longer than anticipated, certainly than the forecast guidance had suggested, and that is actually part of where we're headed. I think our guidance suggested there will be more of this upper air troughiness and more cool weather. And so ultimately our forecast for a milder, was certainly a milder and maybe drier than normal October is in jeopardy, certainly for the milder than normal temperatures as it looks right now. We've had, depending on where you are, and just like we saw during a lot of the growing season, we've had more precipitation in northern parts of the state and less as you go south. The 2-week total here as of this morning, no exception to that, more than 2 inches across portions of the UP and the extreme northern lower. Actually, some spots had more than 3 inches. You can see here in the northwestern lower, but it decreased rapidly as you move south and east, and over much of southeastern lower Michigan here, less than 1 inch. Some cases less than half an inch has fallen, and over the last several weeks, many portions of southern lower Michigan running less than half of normal precip. It's not an exceptionally wet time of the year climatologically. It's sort of in the middle in terms of what the precipitation we see on an annual basis, but still we have been trending drier than normal, certainly continuing in the southern part of the state. And as a result of that, we still have abnormally dry conditions over portions of Michigan. This is the latest drought monitors. Again, it's a little bit out of date, about a week behind, but you can see still about 33%, about 1/3 of the state in either the D0, abnormally dry, or moderate drought category. If we only have a couple percent in that brown shade here of D1, but about the same. It's been holding steady. And as I mentioned, with the drier weather of the last several weeks, that condition has continued. I had in my gauge here this morning 5,500ths with the thunder showers that moved through with the frontal passage last night, which is a little bit more than what I had thought. But that's the heaviest rain we've had here in the local area for almost a month. And again, a sign of things that had been fairly dry here recently. Degree day totals with the cooler than, well, this is actually as of the end of September. We haven't moved it into October, but for the season, just as a review, much of the state was above normal. A lot of the state more significantly above normal. 1 to 2 calendar weeks in general in terms of heat unit accumulation for the growing season. There were some exceptions, but most of the state was above normal in terms of degree day accumulation. They've dropped off though with the cooler temperatures here as of late, and that will be the case here as we move ahead as well. More cooler weather expected. On a weather map here today, yet another frontal passage off to, well, on the weather map, you can see here this occluded front. This is the front that went through during the late yesterday afternoon and early evening yesterday, and brought some of the rainfall to us. Another frontal system's approaching from the west, and it does have some showers out ahead of it. You can see the radar time lapse here over on the left. Some of those are not heavy rain. producers, but will at least be some showers associated with that. Most of that, I think, will be probably over the northern half of lower Michigan, maybe down to about I-96 or so during the afternoon hours. And again, it will be scattered, a lot of hit and miss. Some areas will see maybe a tenth or two of an inch, while other areas remain dry. But that's the next chance for rainfall, at least in terms of the clock. But there are many more after that. As I mentioned, we are entering a very, very unsettled pattern with the passage of many upper air wave features across the northern part of the U.S. By tomorrow morning, at 8 o'clock, you can see the one front is through, and another weather system is getting organized here out of the northern plains and quickly approaching in west to east flow, bringing precip here probably by later in the day tomorrow to the UP and the far northern part of the state, and then spreading south over the rest of the state, at least the threat of rain overnight Thursday into the day Thursday. So I think that's the next best chance for anything that we would consider widespread. But beyond that, there are almost a daily chance for showers here, especially across the northern part of the state, the UP and the northern lower. One of the ingredients here, we do have some Canadian origin air that will be moving into the region here for late in the week. There will be a cooling trend. Today, Tuesday, will be the warmest day of the upcoming week, with highs from the mid-50s north to the low 60s in the south. But again, it'll be downhill from there. And tomorrow, probably 5 to 10 degrees cooler, and then several degrees cooler than that even on Thursday. So by the time we make it to the end of the work week and into the beginning of the weekend, we will be looking at high temperatures remaining most of the state in the 40s north, maybe even some upper 30s for max temperatures in the far north, to the low 50s in the south. So definitely headed cooler than normal. There will also be some cold nights, even with wind and cloud. We will see at least the threat of freezing temperature. One other, I guess, issue at this time of the year, with some of the showers coming, we will see some lake effect possible, especially by Friday into Saturday. Some of that could definitely be in the frozen form, and at least form of snow or mixed rain and snow would be a possibility here late in the week, again, mostly in the northern part of the state. By Thursday, the weather system that you saw in the last map on Wednesday, you can see makes its way through with another wave. This is the more widespread precipitation that I mentioned. For a lot of the state on Friday, other than lake effect areas, it will be dry, probably on Saturday as well. And then you have to use your imagination a little bit, but we will see an area of low pressure form down in the southern Great Plains by Friday, and then that will move northeast towards the Great Lakes region over and probably impact us by late in the weekend, thinking overnight Saturday into Sunday type of time frame. Beyond that, that's the next best chance for widespread precipitation, possibly persisting into Monday. Right now, that one actually could be significant, quarter to half inch type amounts. Most of the precip we're talking about with these showers will be lighter, on the lighter side, a quarter of an inch or less, where rain or snow does occur. But goes without saying, almost a daily chance, again, in the northern part of the state of precip, either rain or possibly snow here later in the week. Forecast precipitation totals here through next Tuesday, the 20th. You can see range from more than 3/4, almost more than an inch in the far north in the UP to less than half an inch down in the far south. So that's the pattern we've seen during a lot of the growing season. It's interesting. It's continuing now. Greater chances, greater coverage, and greater totals north than in the south. But again, with an almost daily chance, there will be lots of wetness here to deal with over the upcoming week. And I did talk about colder temperatures. The coldest morning right now is looking like it will be Saturday morning. We will see frost possible in the north Thursday, probably Friday morning, but especially on Saturday. And these are forecast minimum temperatures. You can see frost and or mostly freezing temperatures. Some hard freeze conditions forecast for interior areas of the Upper Peninsula. You can see low and mid 20s. That's the coldest they've been so far this year. But even some 20s, upper 20s here forecasted for the interior northern lower. So keep an eye out for that. Again, it looks like Saturday would be the coldest. We should see some moderation by Sunday as that next weather system approaches with clouds, probably low temperatures back up into the 30s or low 40s, and they'll stay there at least for a couple days. In the medium range forecast guidance, I talked about a continuation of really the first half of the month. If you look at the upper air here, it pretty much says it all. Big ridge out over western part of, well, almost into the far eastern Pacific, but a big trough carved out right over the middle of the continent and into the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. And along with that, you can see very pronounced colder area of cooler than normal mean temperatures, including Michigan. Also suggests a fairly active storm track here through the eastern part of the country. And as a result of that, the outlook is calling for elevated odds of above normal precip. I'm not so sold on that yet. I think the cool temperatures are a strong bet. It's a little bit, we'll see about the precipitation. This would assume that we get some Gulf of Mexico moisture up here. And with a lot of the systems that we're dealing with right now, that will not be the case. But again, the next chance that we have of getting significant Gulf of Mexico type precip will be late in the weekend, especially on Sunday. The 8 to 14 day outlook is similar in many ways to the 6 to 10 day, but there's a definite difference in terms of the precip forecast. The other issue is that the model guidance does suggest a little bit of a de-amplification of this pattern. A very pronounced troughing, ridging in the 6 to 10 day. It's a little bit less so in the 8 to 14 day time frame. And so we're still calling for below normal mean temperatures, but you can see the precip forecast is a little bit more uncertain, with Michigan being in between wetter than normal conditions to our east and drier than normal conditions to our west. So somewhere in between, and certainly not a high confidence situation, at least for the precip. But what it does strongly indicate collectively here is that, again, our earlier outlooks calling for a milder than normal October are in really serious jeopardy right now. This is actually even the updated outlook as of the end of September was still calling for elevated odds of warmer than normal conditions. But you saw the review, we're already below normal for the first half of the month, and it's likely we will see more cooler than normal temperatures here coming up. So it's going to be pretty tough to drive the averages up into the positive category. The outlooks still beyond that are very, very similar, and they do you can see for the 3-month October through December period, still calling for warmer than normal conditions. After that, and I'm going to talk about this in our late October time frame, our next briefing, but we have a La Nina that has formed in the equatorial Pacific, and that typically, if we see impacts from La Nina, it's similar to El Nino, the warm phase of ENSO. La Nina is the cool phase of ENSO. But with La Nina, we usually see an amplified jet stream pattern across North America. And statistically, the strongest link there is for enhanced precip during the middle to late winter months. And so typically January, February, March, and even into spring, and even into April. And of course, being where we are here in Michigan, many times that translates to above normal snowfall. And so right now, our outlook here beyond a mild fall, although it hasn't done very well so far for the month of October, but it is still calling for milder than normal conditions here, at least for the next month, maybe a little bit longer than that. It would also forecast a change, maybe around the end of the calendar year, maybe in January, but then moving to a much more winter-like type of pattern again, with at least maybe normal, some cases maybe a little below normal mean temperatures, but certainly above normal precip and enhanced storm track through the Ohio Valley, and probably above normal snowfall. So that's sort of where the long term, where we're headed, or at least where the forecast is directing us. But summarizing here, cool and unsettled is I think a perfect description of what we're likely to see here, especially across the northern part of the state, where there'll be more frequent and heavier precipitation. Some of it could be changing over to snow here by late in the work week. Also, falling temperatures expected especially during the next 24 to 48 hours, with highs falling back into the 40s and low 50s versus where they've been recently, and then lows in the 30s and 40s. And keep an eye here, though, late in the week. That will be when we would expect to see the coldest overnight temperatures, especially on Saturday morning, when widespread threat of frost and or freezing temperatures is possible. And finally, then, as we just saw with the medium range, essentially more of the same is forecast with the medium range, especially with cooler than normal weather. It does call for above normal precip, grain of salt, I think, a little bit with that one, but certainly I think the cooler than normal temperatures right now are looking fairly likely, at least for another 1, possibly 2 weeks, which takes us in towards the end of October. And I'll wrap it up with that and see if there might be any questions or thoughts or comments.
So Jeff, I think I'm going to cling to, you said something about maybe milder than normal for a little bit of the rest of the fall, because when you talked about possible snow in the north this weekend,
Yeah.
and a snowy winter for some of us, that's not what we're just
right. And what we're expecting now, at least over the short term, again compared to what is normal in those parts of the state. This is just sort of a very early fall type of taste of a change of precip. The long-term outlook, that would be a little bit different story, where we would see significant, at least it suggests significant increases in snowfall. The real snowfall, what we're looking at now is just sort of a taste of a change of season. So probably not a big deal, but enough to remind us that it is October, latter part of October, and the seasons are changing.
Yeah, I know just from an agronomic standpoint, I've certainly noticed, I'm sure others have too, just with respect to turf grass, the top growth has really slowed down now in the last couple of weeks. And homeowners probably appreciate that. Golf course superintendents, it's a little different story. They have different management things they're doing right now. So some cases that helps them out. And with recovery from like airifying greens, it might slow them down a little bit with these cool temps. But
yeah,
there's always interesting stuff going on this time of year. So
yeah.
Thanks for your update. We'll have one more in October, and then we'll probably do a little sporadic as winter conditions deem necessary.
Very, very good. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
You bet.